In today's video, it's all about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. First up, we've got a first look at the brand new Tales of the TMNT mix and match figures from Playmates Toys. We're also going to move on and check out a few of the new vehicle offerings from that line before ending off the video by taking a look at the Target exclusive Sketch Turtles. Cowabunga, it's Saturday. Time to open some toys. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan and today's video is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles themed. Playmates Toys was kind enough to send along some samples of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tales of figures, which is from the upcoming series based on the Mutant Mayhem movie universe. Now these are the mutations figures, so they are mix and match figures, meaning you'll be able to swap the parts around and, well, you'll see. Let's dive right in and check them out. Alright, so we're going to kick things off by taking a look at the new Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutations figures. So this is the new wave that is going to be hitting store shelves very soon, if not right now. That is based on the upcoming animated series that is part of the Mutant Mayhem universe. So Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And this is the 4 main figures in this wave. So this gives us a good look at the new packaging. Obviously still styled very similar to what we've been seeing with Mutant Mayhem, but we got these brighter colors here, like the purple bricks are what we saw on all the Mutant Mayhem figures, but now you can see like that brick wall looks like it's kind of like torn down, and you can see this bright blue cityscape in the background. It's a very cool look. And then each of the card backs has the 4 turtles up here in the corner, but they're done in the style of the animation for this new series, which is taking more of a 2D animation approach rather than the 3D animation of the films. It's bright and colorful. I like it. I think it looks really good. So these figures are part of the mutations segment that this whole line, I think, is going to be part of. And you can see that he's called Mix and Match Donatello. All 4 of the figures, Mix and Match. And what's going to be confusing, I think, to some folks about the packages here are these extra little parts that you're going to see floating around in the packaging. You can see, for example, Donatello here has Metalhead's head and arm in the box with him. Leonardo also has Metalhead's head, but Splinter's arm. And we've kind of got that across the board. Like Raphael is just packaged with Splinter's decapitated head. It looks a little weird, and why this might be confusing to some is because, you know, we live in an era of Build-A-Figures, and at first glance, this might look like those are Build-A-Figure parts to build a Metalhead or another figure, but the reality is that all of these are getting full releases in this wave. I unfortunately don't have any of these guys to look at here today. I've just got the 4 turtles, but as you can see, rounding out the wave is also Splinter, Bishop in a mech suit, Metalhead, and Mechazoid. So these are all new character designs for the upcoming series. I do think this Metalhead is pretty sweet. I'm excited to check him out in person. He's got a bit of the 2012 era flair with the design of the head and everything. Bishop is a classic character that we're kind of seeing a return of here, which is pretty cool. So all of these are getting full figure releases, so you don't have to buy these figures to build them. What's actually happening is every one of these figures, including these guys, are going to come with random other parts, which is specifically for the mix and match feature. So you're going to end up with just extra heads and arms and stuff if you end up buying this whole wave of figures. Now, I think the reason they did this is more aimed at the kids who might only get 1 or 2 or 3 of the figures from this, you know, that way they can still do the mixing and matching of the figures if that's something they want to do. I think that's all that's really going on there. So these all look pretty cool. You can see the back there shows you how the mixing and matching works. Basically, all of the joints can pop off the parts. This is a feature that Playmates has done in the past. They did this exact same thing in the 2012 Turtle series. They did this with their Ben 10 toy line as well. So it's kind of like a standard Playmates Toys feature at this point. In fact, it's really not too far off from what Masters of the Universe Origins does with their pop and play kind of mechanic there. So all of these figures comes with all these random parts, but then of course they can just be the basic figure as well. So why don't we go ahead and rip these open and we'll get a closer look at the action figures themselves. All right, so here we go. We got our 4 new mix and match turtles outside of the packaging. They stand at the same scale as what we had before, so they kind of vary. They're different sizes from each other, but they do push upwards of 5 inches tall. And the deco is a little bit different on these guys. Colors are obviously the same, but you can see like, you know, they got the colored initials on their belts now, but they're also kind of wearing like these extra armored pieces. Like you can see they're all rocking like armored knee pads here, and they've got like these armored little shoulder bits in some spots like that. So I don't know if this is like the exclusive look from the new show, if that's something we're going to see in the cartoon, or if that's just something they did for these toys. I do love some of the extra little details, like Leonardo's got this extra like blue belt underneath his standard black belt. I think that's pretty cool. Donatello, of course, just like in Mutant Mayhem, is the one with all the little extra bits still. Like, he's got the hip sack, he's got the headphones, he's got the glasses. The headphones and the glasses are removable, so if you do want to remove those, you can, but I think he's pretty rad like that, so obviously those stay on with my figure there. There's going to be a lot of comparisons to the figures that came before, because I do think it's important to see what the difference is here between the Mutant Mayhem movie figures and these figures here. So you can see there are differences. The head is different on that Leo. We got a very different look to his face. He's smiling, wider eyes. The swords this time around are totally unpainted. They're just like gray plastic. There's no paint on the handles this time around. So you can see there are some differences in the overall look. Here's our Raphaels standing side by side. Again, totally different look and shape to the head. I didn't even notice how different it was until I put them side by side. But you can also see the difference with the belt. Like Raphael's got the cross belt straps going across his chest on this new iteration. Also interesting is how his size hook on the back instead of the front, which is very different for Raphael. And again, those weapons are just unpainted on this new version. Here's our Michelangelo comparison. Again, very different looks to the head sculpt this time around. Mikey also has the cross belts going over the chest. He's also rocking gloves, fingerless gloves on this new version, or maybe it's the tape wrapped all the way around his hands. Does kind of look like they're gloves though. And again, you can see the interesting, like he's got those wraps going around his ankles and his shins, and then he's also got those new armored belt pieces there. And same thing with the actual nunchucks, which don't have any paint deco going on there. Also really interesting to see these grooves in his shell. I'm not entirely sure what those are for yet, if they're for anything. And finally, comparing our Donatellos there, the new version, actually looks very similar, though he does have a different facial expression. Very similar, though. He's got the one strap going over his shoulder, which is very classic Donatello. I do like that. You can see he's got the wraps on his ankles now as well. And the bow staff actually is very similar, since the other version was also not painted. But you'll also notice there's those grooves again. So these new figures do have these grooves on the shells, and I don't know if those are actually designed for anything, so that's going to be interesting to check out as we're looking at these. So the packaging doesn't say anything about the grooves in the shells, and it's really interesting because they're all kind of similar in shape, but slightly different. You can see like Raphael's is almost in the same spot as Donnie's. He's got a bigger shell, and it's also not joined right here like that. And I was wondering if it's like for any of the accessories. I don't know if that's like specifically for like attaching ninja stars to their shells or something, if that's part of the mixing and matching. They don't really fit there too great, a little bit. I almost wonder if it's sets or like you can plug these into something else coming later. I'm not entirely sure. Very interesting. If that's something you know, let me know, because that's actually kind of baffling to me. So each of these figures, as I kind of showed you, do come with their signature weapons, but they also come with a host of other accessories. And one thing that's really interesting on these guys is you might have noticed all these pegs on their belts. So these are totally designed so that they can holster a whole bunch of weapons if you want to. For example, Donatello does come with 3 of these larger style ninja stars there, so we can kind of place those around on his belt if we want to. He also comes with this pipe, and even the pipe has a peg spot on there, so I guess maybe we can like plug that on up on his shoulder there. It's really awkward, but the fact that he's got a place to holster everything is actually kind of cool. Michelangelo's got this crazy spiked mace there, which is really interesting, but again, it's got a place where you can like hang it off the front of his belt if you want to, and then he also has a different type of ninja star. In fact, he's even got the same one smaller but sculpted on his belt, which is kind of fun. But yeah, look at that. We can actually, I bet we can fit multiples. There we go. That's actually pretty cool. You know, I gotta be honest, I do always like it when an action figure has a place to put all of their weapons that they come with. Leonardo's weapons might be the most fun because they are totally classic TMNT weapons. This is the type of stuff we got with our vintage Turtles action figures. I love to see it. And again, these all have holes on them as well, so there's various places we could holster these on the figure if we want to. Raphael's got like these knucks here, which are pretty cool. I will say those don't really have a hole for holstering, but you know, that's a perfect Raphael weapon. If he gets very angry. He's also got this nightstick style club there, or you know, it's kind of like his what are those called? He's used these weapons before as well, and I'm also terrible about knowing the official names of a lot of these weapons. But then we've got his ninja stars, and of course, as I showed you, he also comes with his size as well. So let's get to the mixing and matching and talk about these figures a little bit more, because you might have also noticed, because of the mixing and matching parts, there are some exposed pegs on these figures in a lot of places. At the bases of the necks, you can see the peg underneath. Sometimes on the figures, you can see the pegs, the posts there at the top of the legs. It's better on some than others. Like it's better on Raph, but I specifically noticed on Mikey, I could see like the upper pegs poking out from his legs there. But also the articulation is a lot more limited on these than the Mutant Mayhem figures. Basically, these figures only articulate at those joints where you can remove them. We have nothing in the elbows, nothing in the wrists, nothing in the knees, nothing in the ankles. So these are totally solid legs all the way down, solid arms all the way through. Very, very limited articulation. So really, you're only going to get one type of stance out of these guys. Otherwise, it's all about that pop and play feature. And it's very easy to do that. You can just rip these guys apart at all of those ball joints there, so the legs can come off, the heads can come off, and you're basically just left with a body like this. Now we can swap on those new parts if we want to create some crazy mutant abominations. For example, Raph comes with Splinter's head, and we've also got a metal head leg, so we can do some really crazy stuff here. There we go, just utilizing some of the random pieces that came with these figures, I've created this monstrosity with Raphael's body and a leg and a metal head leg. Look at that, that metal head leg is so much shorter than the Raph leg. I need to use somebody else's leg, hold on. Here, let's try Mikey's leg. So there we go. We got Mikey's leg, Metalhead's leg. I think this is the Bishop arm, maybe. The mech suit arm, Splinter's head. This is the kind of crazy stuff you can do with this. I mean, and it's fun. I can totally see kids having a good time just mixing and matching parts if you're into that sort of thing. But that is definitely the feature of these toys. Mixing and matching, swapping weapons, placing weapons all over these pegs. These are not figures that you're going to get as a collector if you want like articulated figures to pose in different ways. These are definitely made specifically for play, with that pop and play feature being the priority. Here, let's do Metalhead's head on Donatello's body. Look at Metalhead. I'm a real boy. Turtle. Oh, this is that Mechazoid guy. This is Mechazoid's head. So we can do some crazy mixing and matching here with this. Mikey I made looks like he comes from a future where he's got like a metal leg, now robot leg, and he's got all his brother's limbs. All right, so there you go. That's our new mix and match mutations figures from Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not necessarily what you want if you're looking for articulated turtles, but if you like just mixing your parts up and making weird turtle figures, I guess these are for you. So along with new action figures, we're also getting some new vehicles, and Playmates Toys was nice enough to send some of these along as well, which I believe are shipping alongside these new mutations figures. So let's check out these two new bikes for the TMNT lineup. So with this wave, we're also getting two new vehicles. We've got the Purple Dragon Cycle with Raphael. This is also based on that upcoming series. I love this because it's a Purple Dragon Cycle, so cool to know that we might be seeing the Purple Dragon Gang in this new series. This is another kind of common thing that we see with Playmates Toys where it's packaged with just a turtle, but he's got minor changes. Like in this case, he's got a helmet. It even says it right there on the little shout out. So cool stuff. Looking forward to checking that out. The other one that's in this wave I think is even cooler, and this one is Mutant Mayhem branded, but shipping with this new wave here. So this is the Chopper Cycle with Rocksteady. And again, we get a new Rocksteady figure, but he includes a helmet, though this is pretty cool because Rocksteady has worn helmets like this with the goggles in previous iterations, so that's pretty fun to see. And then we've got this very brightly colored Chopper Cycle there that you can see is utilizing all the colors of the turtles: blue, purple, red, orange. So they brightened it up for the toy just to make it a little bit more exciting. That's a very Playmates Toys thing to do. So let's go ahead and get both of these opened up and we'll get a look at them as well. All right, we'll take a look at our two new bikes now. Pretty fun stuff. First of all, I love this pack-in Rocksteady. I think he is pretty spectacular. Let me bring in just the standard Rocksteady from the Mutant Mayhem line. You can see that he's basically exactly the same figure. Head sculpt even seems to be the same. The body is the same kind of deco going on there. The difference is that they added this helmet, and it's not removable. They actually did attach it to the head up there. But I love that, like, you know, because this Rocksteady's got like this huge back that basically just forms into his head. It cracks me up how this helmet's like going up over his back. Minimal articulation there, but he already had minimal articulation anyway, since the front of the head kind of just looks left and right. The helmet kind of follows the head there. But I don't know, I really like that look. I think that is really cool and is definitely a fun reason to get this particular bike. Now that Raphael here, we've had another helmeted Raphael from the Mutant Mayhem line that came with another bike, and you can see that they are different. The bodies are similar, and this does have much more articulation than those mutations figures we just looked at. This is much more in line with what we got from the Mutant Mayhem line. You can see this one has red hands like he's wearing gloves, and then his helmet is different. It's more like a motocross helmet or a motorcycle helmet there, but I do love how the bandana's still sticking off the back of it. So pretty fun stuff. All right, let's look at those bikes. This is the Chopper Cycle there that our Rocksteady comes with. I already mentioned in the box, but I'll point it out again. The extremely bright colors here. This is totally a thing that Playmates likes to do to make toys more appealing, especially to kids. So for some reason, Rocksteady's bike is just colored with all the Turtles colors, red and orange and blue and purple. I do love the little skull up here on the headlight, which is pretty fun. It does have two rocket-firing missiles there, which are triggered by pushing these little fins off on the side. Boom, just like that. So you've got one on each side. It's the spring-loaded missiles, which are very nice. Let's bring that Rocksteady in. I am curious how he's actually going to fit on this thing. Luckily, he's pretty nicely articulated at the legs, so you can actually get a proper seated stance. It's a bit tricky to get him to hold on to those handlebars, but I think that's pretty much the best. There we go. Here we go. There we go. Haha. Oh my God, I love that. I love how gigantic he looks sitting on this bike. And it actually balances really well. So, and it rolls. This is pretty fun. What you looking at? All right, let's get Raphael posed on his Purple Dragon Cycle that I assume he stole from the Purple Dragons and painted his initial on it. Maybe they're just calling it the Purple Dragon Cycle, like they're just making a reference. I don't know. I kind of hope we actually get to see the Purple Dragons. There we go. I think that's basically how we're going to get Raphael stationed on there. He has a kickstand, so it doesn't balance without that kickstand down, but at least we've got that option if you want to display this. And then the headlight on the front actually will fire off. There's a green button up here. So spring-loaded missile, he can just blast off his headlight if he needs to, but then he can't drive in the dark. I like the little clear windshield there. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, there we go. 2 new cycles. They're pretty fun. I like them. I definitely like that Rocksteady one. Once again, very special thanks to Playmates Toys for sending those over so we can get a good look at them outside of the packaging. I do believe those are shipping right now. I know some of the tails of the TMNT stuff, such as the 12-inch figures, are already starting to hit store shelves, so these should be following right behind it. So definitely keep an eye on your local retail shops, and you can score yourself some tails of the TMNT figures if that's what you're looking for. Now, while you're out hunting, you might also run across these Target exclusive sketch turtles. It actually took me a while to find them, and well, I haven't even found all 4 of them yet, but we're still going to talk about them. We're going to throw them into the video today. Hopefully you'll excuse the fact that I only have 3 out of the 4 of the turtles. Lastly today, I want to take a look at the original sketch turtles, or at least 3 of them, because I can't find Leonardo, dang it. These guys are exclusive to Target, which is obviously problem number 1 with trying to track these down. These are the only 3 I have found hanging in my local Target so far, and have had no luck over the past couple weeks finishing the set. So I'm going to work on it. I'll definitely get Leo at some point, but we're still going to look at these today because they're all very similar. I do love the idea of celebrating the 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles by doing some action figures based on some of those early concepts. This one being based on this original sketch, which is very cool. These are the sketch turtles. So this picture right here is exactly what they're based on. And what's really cool about this is that they also all fit together in a diorama, so you can kind of build out this picture right here with these turtles. So you can see they just come in window boxes, very similar window boxes with the turtles showcased in there. So let's rip these open. Let's take a look at them. All right, so here are my 3 sketch turtles outside of the packaging. And as you can see, these basically form together a cool little diorama scene. My Leonardo will go right here whenever I get it. And one thing I really like about these as well is each of the figures comes with this great little art card showing that original Eastman Laird sketch, that first sketch of the 4 turtles together. If you get every figure, you're going to end up with multiples of these. See, so I've got 3 of them here. But these are pretty cool. You can see that's the artwork right there that these figures are inspired by. It's just blank cardboard on the back. The little stands are pretty cool because they just look like the little ooze canisters there. You see the art card just kind of slides into it. So that's pretty cool. I like that that's included. It'll make a nice little backdrop on your shelf if you want to display these this way. I did my best to kind of pose them the way they are in the artwork there. It's a little tricky to pose them like that, and it's definitely not perfect. Like Raphael's hand over here specifically, the way it's like bent up and in front of his face, and then the way he's holding onto his thigh, it's just not something I was able to pull off with the figure here, but you can get them pretty close. So let's look at the figures themselves. Let me go ahead and straighten this guy out. So these are articulated, as you can see. So there is a little bit of posing we can do there. And if I bring in the tape measure, you can see that these guys are pretty short. They're about the 4.5-inch mark. So honestly, they should be right in line with your vintage Playmates Toys TMNT action figures. But, you know, very much styled like those original sketches there. They're very lightweight, and part of that is because, as you can see, the feet are very hollowed out, and it actually does make the overall figure just kind of feel lighter, but it still feels pretty nice regardless of that lightweight. Like, it still feels solid here in the torso and everything like that. The plastic feels fine, or at least what we've come to expect from the current TMNT stuff, and the articulation is, again, pretty much in line with what we've seen with a lot of their modern figures, like their Mutant Mayhem stuff. So you can see we've got a hinge joint at the neck, which also can swivel around. You've got the hinge joint there at the shoulders, forwards and backwards movement. We do have bends at the elbows, swivels at the elbow, and swivels at the wrist. And then the legs there have the hinge joints. So the legs can go outwards, they can swivel around there, kind of move forwards and backwards, and you do have a bend and a swivel at the knee. You got the little tail hanging down there, which I really like. That one is not articulated. So obviously the shape of their body, the interesting proportions with like the skinny legs that go into like the fatter feet there, it is going to have some hindrance in the articulation. Like you're going to be slightly limited on the way you're posing them. But I have a strong suspicion that most collectors that buy these and open them up are going to go for this anyway. And as I showed you guys, you can essentially get this pose out of these figures with a few minor differences there. So not bad at all. The Raphael is really interesting because, as you can see in the artwork right there, Raphael actually has his own katana blade. So this is something really interesting and different. So he came with this. It actually just attaches right here to the back of his belt, and you can unsheath that. So we do have a katana for Raphael, which is pretty cool. And then he's also got his size, and you can see these are unique sculpted size. They are different than what we've seen before. The blade portions are a little too fat to properly fit through the fingers. Like he's even holding them that way in the artwork, and the hands don't really get on there as well as I would like them to. So I do think that is a bit unfortunate that we can't get him to properly hold on to those. You guys know how I am. I say that every time I have a Raphael figure. I think the best way for him to hold it is fingers through the prongs, and it's just not really well done on this particular version of the Sai. So each of the figures has like a holes on the bottom of their feet, and there's one peg on the little base that they come with. Both Raphael and Donatello here just have plain black, kind of cracked, straight-looking bases. Mikey's differs because they put this little box with this little wood platform on there so that he can be raised up higher than the rest. Again, because they're capturing the artwork there where he's just kind of magically floating above everybody. I don't know, maybe he's jumping. The other thing I want to show you about Mikey that I think is really cool is they added these little attachments here to his wrist, these little prongs, so that you can clip on the nunchucks on his wrist, much like Mikey was depicted in a lot of these early sketches with the nunchucks attached to his forearms. He does have that on both forearms there, so you can attach the nunchucks on both arms if that's something that you want to do. It does appear that each of the figures shares the same body. The heads even look the same all the way across the board, which I suppose that's fine because that's basically what we had on that artwork there. Mikey does have real metal chains on his nunchucks, and again, these are brand new nunchucks. Very cool. I will say, I do kind of wish we had at least one nunchuck that had a swirling effect instead of just having the hanging nunchucks, just so we can get a little closer to that artwork that I'm bringing in again, but it was included and it shows you. It would have been really cool if we could have like a little effect so that he was actually swinging the nunchuck, I think. So you can see how the bases kind of come apart there too, just to kind of demonstrate that. Slides in there. And see, Donatello does also have a bit of a difference because his belt comes around. He does have a holster on the back of his belt there so that you can put his bow staff. Also, it is a new unique bow staff with the wrapping a little closer to one end than the other to mimic that artwork. So honestly, I think these do a pretty great job. And for the price point on these, I think these are a lot of fun. The colors on them are interesting because they're definitely trying to mimic the colors of the original action figures. That's why, you know, Donatello's kind of got the darker, almost brown skin tone. Raphael's got that lighter green. And then they're wearing their signature colors on their bandanas. I do feel like this would have been a great instance to get these guys either in black and white, like this, or give them all red bandanas. I'm actually kind of surprised they went with the colored bandanas on these. I actually feel like the red bandanas would have probably made more sense here. But knowing Playmates Toys, this is likely not the last time they're going to use these molds. I wouldn't be surprised to see these released maybe even in a couple different color variations at some point down the road. I guess time will tell on that. I do want to do one quick comparison here because I've mentioned that artwork multiple times that these are based on. These are based on this initial first sketch right here. But we have had some figures, or at least statue-like figures, of some of the concept stuff before, like this first turtle This was released by Mondo several years ago, and it was based on the very first Turtle sketch. And I just wanted to bring it in here to show you that it is different. Like, these are going for different looks. It's different artwork that they're referencing, but still with the nunchucks on the wrist there. So I honestly do like these quite a bit. I've always been a big fan of getting toys of concept art and concept characters and stuff like that. I think it's a really fun way to pay homage to this brand that is now celebrating its 40th anniversary. And the price point on these is right. I think these were under $15 a piece. Maybe it was even less than that. I honestly can't remember exactly how much I paid for these at Target. Again, Target exclusive, and that's the biggest downside. It took these forever to show up in my store, and when I finally found them, I only found one of each, and I'm still missing that Leo that I'll have to track down eventually so that I can complete the quartet. But I do like these quite a bit. If you stumble upon them and you're into this sort of thing, I think you'll dig them. You know, after I got done recording the review portion of this video, it was confirmed that Playmates Toys is bringing these sketch turtles to San Diego Comic-Con as an exclusive as black and white edition figures. So I called it. I knew that there was no way they weren't going to just reuse these molds in different colors. No word yet on if those black and white editions will be available outside of San Diego Comic-Con, but fingers crossed, because their Comic-Con exclusives historically have not been easy to get a hold of, and I would still like to even see the full color versions, but with all red bandanas. So I don't know, maybe we'll see some more of these. Either way, they're pretty fun. Hey guys, thank you for joining me for another Saturday filled with toy reviews. I hope you enjoyed this TMNT themed episode. Next week's episode will also have some TMNT goodness, but it's also themed for that big summer event that we just kind of spoke about a little bit ago. So maybe you can put some pieces together and you'll know what next week's video is all about. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, leave a comment, all those good things. Shout out to all of my supporters over on Patreon. You guys are amazing. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Take care, my friends.